Today I'm going to talk about air conditioning units for your caravan and motorhome, and specifically the one we've had fitted to ours, which is a Truma Aventa Compact. So what made us take the plunge with an air conditioning unit? I think it was probably the trip we did the year before, very hot in France. It was sort of 40 plus degrees, and we used to take 9-inch desk fans with us, which, to be fair, when it gets to that temperature, all they then do is just blow hot air in your face. So that wasn't great. So we started to look at air conditioning units and went with the Aventa. Now we've had it fitted for about a year now, or just under a year. And not only have we used it in the UK, we've used it on a 10-country trip through Europe and various other bits and pieces as well. So we've got to know it pretty well, and we've used it in all sorts of temperatures. Now, for this review, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of having an air conditioning unit. And I will start with the cons. Now, if you're like me with money, you don't like spending it particularly, and cost is probably right up there on the list. Now, I've had a look round at various online sites, and the unit on here, it costs between 1,500 and 1,700 quid. So yeah, it's not cheap, but now I've had it for a year, I liken it to a motor mover, because once you've had one of those fitted, it's very difficult to go back to a caravan without one. And I'm fairly sure the air conditioning unit is going to be the same. Now, weight is another consideration, because it does weigh 27-28 kilos, and this will come out of the payload in your caravan. Now, if you've got a motorhome, you've probably got a bit more payload, but if you've got 150-200 kilo limit in your caravan, that's going to take 27-28 kilos from it. Where it's fitted there, it comes through a roof light. That's a 400 square Heki. Now, you will lose that 400 square Heki roof light. Not an issue, never thought about it once the light's on, but because you haven't got the roof light in there until the light's on, it's a little bit darker. Additional height, now that's also another consideration, and probably one that I hadn't really thought of until we started using it. The unit itself is probably this high, I would have thought, but when you think you've got roof lights and a telly aerial on the roof anyway, it's probably only increasing it by that much. We haven't had a problem, never had a problem at ferry, toll booth, anything like that. But if you are going somewhere where height is tight, it may be a consideration, but it hasn't been for us so far. And also, because it is 240 volts, it won't run off 12 volts. So you will need to be on an electric hookup to use the air conditioning unit. Now, having used it for 12 months, those are the only cons that I can think of. Now let's move on to the pros and the reasons for having one. Now, I suppose it's the big one. When it's hot, you want to be cool in your caravan. When we stayed in France last year in the school summer holidays, it was 45.5. It was to the point that I would pitch the caravan, level it up, and I would need to come and get a beer out of the fridge and stand under the air conditioning unit. Now, I couldn't even imagine what that would be like without an aircon unit. And it was at that moment you thought, oh, God, I'm glad I've had this fitted. Also, something I hadn't really considered until we had it fitted was the dog. If it's hot and you want to go, I don't know, say the pub won't allow dogs and you need to go for a bite to eat and you're not going to be out for a long time, you can put the CP Plus panel, which is the Truma control panel, that will control the heating and the aircon. So if you put it on auto, it will then use a mixture of heating and aircon to maintain a temperature. So if your dog likes 18 degrees, he will have 18 degrees. Now this sounds silly, but it's always there. You haven't got to think about taking an additional unit with you, where to store it, how to carry it, all this sort of thing. If you want to use it, the aircon is on the roof, ready to roll. All you do is push a button. It also looks like a factory installation. It's not one of these aftermarket add-ons that look out of place. The colours fit in with this Bailey Phoenix. The fit and finish is as good as a factory fit and finish, and all the wires run through the pre-existing conduits in the walls, and it plugs into the back of the existing CP Plus control panel. This is on my phone now. So the blue light tells you that the compressor's running and it's producing cold air. It's not quite in the middle, because the roof light was here on this Caravan, and we wondered whether it would be efficient enough to cool both ends. But in here, you can turn these slats, and it actually blows the cold out here, cold air out through this door, and the same there. So don't think that your unit has to sit bang on in the middle to be efficient. One of the most common things we've been asked is about the noise. Now, I'm your typical Brit. I don't like to pull the bed slats out too late in case it disturbs someone next door, and I don't want our holiday to encroach on anyone else's. So yeah, noise of the fan and the compressor was always a consideration for us, and judging by the comments we've had, for other people as well. I think the ultimate test for that is when we stayed in Alsace. It was incredibly still. Stream running nearby, but you could hear that like it was right next to you. No wind at all, and it was in a valley, so all the noise, I don't know whether noise collects, but that's what it seemed to do. We had a tent behind us, to the side of Caravan, to the other side of Motorhome, and I asked these people, I said, look, we've just got an air conditioning unit, I don't know how loud it is, could you let me know? So what I did, we ran it in the evening, and just before bedtime turned it onto fan. There's a fan setting as well, so the compressor was shut off, turned it onto the fan setting, so as the air outside cools, it draws that through, and that was enough for a really good night's sleep. And I spoke to the people the next day, and they said yes, we could hear the compressor go in the evening. It wasn't intrusive, but we could just hear a faint hum. And then they said, and then you obviously shut it off before bedtime. Well, we didn't, we left the fan on, but it's so quiet that they didn't hear it. So I think that's a big tick in the box, but it is something just to be considerate of from other people. I mean, if you've got a tent next to you and it's a very still day, you know, always think of others. But I'll show you in a minute what it sounds like outside with the compressor and the fan running, because the reason I'm filming today at home, the wind's 4 mile an hour. There's nothing to mask the noise, and you'll see what it's like in a bit. When we moved on from Alsace, we went to Lake Garda, and we were in a row of caravans and motorhomes, and without fail every single one had an air conditioning unit. I spoke to the guys next door, and they said it's just a matter of course for where they are for people to use them all the time. And yes, once I thought about that, you could hear the faint hum up and down. So I suppose it depends where you go. It really wasn't a consideration for anyone on that site. People running them throughout the night on low, and you never really noticed it. If you've been thinking about an air conditioning unit for your caravan or motorhome, I hope our video has gone some way to answering some of your questions. If it hasn't, and you've got more questions that I haven't covered, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Another thing, if you found this video to be helpful, please subscribe to our small YouTube channel. We've got lots of things planned for this year, and it would be great if you could also click that little bell button, because then that will notify you when we've released something new. But thanks for watching this, and we'll catch you next time.